The Seahawks have Super Bowl aspirations in 2023. They're going all in on this year. But in order to go all in, this team still is a player away from being where they need to be. On today's show, I got 3 potential trade targets for your Seattle Seahawks, as well as 3 different positions of need for Seattle. We'll go over those in just a moment. But first, who is a player the Seahawks should trade for? We have a few names to get to, but who comes to mind for you? Let us know in the comments section. We'll get started with today's show. The first name on our list we have talked a whole lot about here on Seahawks Today over the last few months is Chase Young. And according to reports, Chase Young so far throughout training camp has looked the part for the Washington Commanders. He has looked like the player that they drafted a couple years ago out of the Ohio State, playing at an extraordinary high level. He was a Pro Bowler as a rookie, also won the Defensive Player of the Year award that year. And Chase Young right now looks even better than what he did back in 2020. Now, granted, we haven't seen a lot of Chase Young over the last 2 seasons, playing in just 12 games in that stretch as he has been injured and hasn't been available for the Washington Commanders. But you look at the statistics and what he brings to the table, this is a guy that has all sorts of potential. I can tell you that much right now. 7.5 sacks as a rookie in 15 games played. 2021 and 2022, with all that time missed, didn't necessarily go the way he liked. But here's the deal when it comes to the Seattle Seahawks and Chase Young. Chase Young, I believe, is still that same number 2 overall talent. Okay, if he's healthy, you can get that guy who could be one of the best pass rushers in the entire National Football League. And when it comes to Chase Young, here's a decision the Seahawks have to think about. If you feel confident enough in Jarran Reed at the nose tackle spot, where he has begun training camp at, and the Seahawks adjusted accordingly, putting him in that spot with the lack of depth at that position. If you feel confident about that, then this would be an incredible addition to the defensive line. Then you got Draymond Jones on one side, you got Chase Young on another, and Jarran Reed holding things down at the nose tackle spot. All of a sudden, you went from 0 to 100 real quick with this group. Now you got the juices flowing. I'm fired up if you make this move. And now the next question, you may be sitting there asking yourself, well, how much is it going to cost? Chase Young can't be cheap, right? 2nd round pick, and you could probably get Chase Young. The Commanders then don't have to pay him at that point, and they get to stash a pick away in next year's draft. Commanders probably feel pretty good about that situation. You take him off their hands, and as far as paying him goes, what I would do is this. If I'm John Schneider and Pete Carroll, I would say, okay, Chase, we're going to bring you in, but we need to see you be healthy and play at a high level. And if you do that, then we'll extend you, and then we'll pay you. But if he doesn't, then you count your losses or franchise tag, move on, whatever it may be. That's how I would approach this, and I think the risk outweighs, the reward outweighs the risk in this case. It'd be a home run for Seattle. Should the Seahawks trade for Chase Young? What do you think? I've laid out the situation. Now it's your turn to tell us what you think. T for trade, P for pass. Weigh in the comments section. What do you think about this possibility? T for trade, P for pass. Let us know in the comment section below. Next up is DeForest Buckner. We talked about him on the channel a few days ago, the defensive tackle from the Indianapolis Colts. And DeForest Buckner is just starting to come into his own. A 2016 first-round pick out of Oregon, began his career with the San Francisco 49ers, then went to Indianapolis, and now we're starting to see DeForest Buckner look like one of the best interior defensive linemen in the National Football League, as he has really come on strong there in Indianapolis. And the Colts are in a situation where they're rebuilding. They're starting over. They might be the worst team in the league in 2023. With Anthony Richardson under center now, Jonathan Taylor's not happy. They're restarting. DeForest Buckner doesn't fit the timeline of the Indianapolis Colts. So it makes sense for the Colts to go ahead and move on from Buckner now. Now, look at these numbers. And this is a defensive tackle, might I add you, putting up these type of statistics. In 2022, in 17 games played, 8 sacks, That's a sack every other game with 2 forced fumbles, 11 tackles for loss, 74 tackles. He is a difference maker every time he steps onto the football field. Buckner is still in his prime years. And you add Buckner into the fold. And you have that depth there. Jaron Reed, Draymond Jones, among others here. Now you're starting to talk about this team being pretty serious. Now you have, for the defenses, or for the offenses, rather, that you face, you are requiring a double team there. You are creating a matchup nightmare, essentially, with putting DeForest Buckner in that spot. Now, do you have to pay him? You do. And he's not going to necessarily be cheap, but you still get his prime years to pay him. The trade value could be done with a third-round pick and then a player. I think a guy like Noah Fant, for example, you could package and you could get DeForest Buckner. I love this idea. I'm fired up about this possibility. I would take Chase Young or DeForest Buckner, either one. If I had to choose between the two, I'm probably going DeForest Buckner, but I'm just sitting here today and I'm saying, John, Pete, please do something. Get one of these two guys. And it'll make all the difference in the world for this Seattle Seahawks team if you get one of these two. Please, please, please. Pick one. Which guy would you rather have, Chase Young or DeForest Buckner? Weigh in. Tell us in the comments section. Type CY for Chase Young. Type DB for DeForest Buckner. Let us know which guy you'd rather have in Seattle in the comments section below. Folks, you will not want to miss out. Coming up Saturday night, Seahawks, Cowboys, preseason game number 2. We're going to be live here on the channel about an hour prior to kickoff, and we are going to have a party here on the channel. We really mean that. We are going to be having super chat contests. We're going to have a few drinks on hand. Myself, Tyler Smith, Smitty, we're going to be here with you, and we will entertain. I can promise you that much. This is going to be a hell of a time. We're going to stick it to those Cowboy fans, the worst fans in the NFL. I want to make our presence known. I want them to hear us all the way in Dallas. I want them to hear us all the way in Seattle, in Tokyo. I don't care. We are going to put on a show here on Seahawks Today. Do not miss out on it. Join us coming up Saturday night. You will not want to miss it. YouTube.com/Seahawks TV. Turn on notifications and join us. Last trade target on the list is Devin White. Now, compared to the other two, Devin White would be a luxury, not a necessity for Seattle. But it would still be a very welcome addition. I would still prefer the other two. Devin White is very talented. Second-team All-Pro in 2020, Pro Bowler in 2021, first-round pick out of LSU in 2019, former Super Bowl champion. All of that is good with Devin White. None of this has to do with any knock on Devin White. I love to have him on my team, but just based on need, where the Seahawks are at, what they're looking for, I would take those other two players first. But with that said, Devin White sounds like he wants out of Tampa Bay, and the Seahawks have some question marks at the linebacker position right now. We know Jordan Brooks is on his way back, that he's been activated from PUP, but we still need to see what he looks like. There's some question marks as far as Devin Bush goes. And then, of course, Bobby's only on a 1-year deal. Devin White could be a leader on your defense and an impact player for a long time. Not the top priority, but you add in Devin White, and all of a sudden, you're talking about the Seahawks having the best linebacker room in the National Football League if you add in Devin White. The other two, I'd rather take first. But this can be done. And here's how it can be done. His trade value, there's not much of a trade market. Bucks didn't get a ton of offers. You can probably have him for about a third-round pick. A player of that caliber for a third-round pick. You're not going to find a player of Devin White's caliber like that in the third round. It'd be a steal for Seattle. You do have to pay him, though, but it would set the tone. And, we think about the Legion, right? And that tough-minded defense, the history of what the Seahawks did. Devin White would join the fold and carry on that tradition, that legacy. So, tell me this. Should the Seahawks trade for Devin White? Y for yes, N for no. Lay it down in the comments section. Tell me what you think. Y for yes, N for no, if the Seahawks should make a trade for Devin White or not. Interact with me on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads as well, at Tyler Jones Live. You can find me there. And we shall see you next time right here on Seahawks Today.